Picture this. You practice A-Maths non-stop and then you suddenly panic during the exam. Later you learn that you failed that subject. There are three things that we need to address. 1. What makes A-Maths extremely difficult to pass? 2. What happened during the study? That is the part where we need to find out from so many people. 3. Is there an approach to pass A-Maths? Let us find out. Let us talk about A-Maths in general. 1. A-Maths is an elective but highly challenging subject which stumps many people. 2. It's a secondary subject in STEM fields, and this is important since STEM field requires A-Maths, as A-Maths has a very high versatility. It is advantageous in other study areas like finance or critical thinking. Even though A-Maths won't be used so much outside the STEM field, but it's advantageous to have one. 3. It utilizes more critical thinking and advanced algebra to solve practical problems. Let's look at an example. When you want to solve, example, physics question, you're gonna need something like calculus to find the change at that instant, or the total area under the velocity time graph. There are some importance when it comes to studying A-Maths in general. The first one being, it is a gateway to higher level studies and it provides opportunity to diverse careers. Like those in higher level studies such as a degree in engineering, A-level pure maths and further maths. Those are examples. So second is it allows mental capabilities to sharpen through problem solving. So a student who studies A-Maths, they can think where to start and how to solve the question. 3. A-Maths is usually supplementary, like I mentioned about it being a secondary subject. Since A-Maths is used and it allows more sophisticated functions like logarithms to solve more complex problems. The other is A-Maths will allow you to equip higher tier skills like critical thinking. Now, I am going to explain the root causes behind the A-Maths failure rate. There are three things inherent in A-Maths: student or teacher factors and psychological factors. What is already inherent, we cannot change it. And I believe what is already inherent is known to most people. Let's go to the student or teacher factors. When the teacher teach, the teacher must go through the proof and explain the nature behind the laws. If the teacher doesn't do that, eventually the students won't be able to understand what the teacher explains, and that will mean the foundation for A-Maths in students is very weak. Second, when students study A-Maths, they will use a variety of study techniques. However, should a study technique will not work, then that is deemed to fail in the exam. But if the student has the intuition and realizes that his or her method works, then they can go for it. Otherwise, if they continue with the method which does not work, then I don't want to offend, but it's like committing oneself to failure in the long term. The third one, psychological factors. When students study A-Maths, they need to condition their mindset to be flexible and enduring. Mean to say, they need to withstand the time pressure in the exam. If their mindset is inflexible and their mental state is fragile, then during the exam they will break down. That is the reason why so many students fail A-Maths in SPM, and it could happen in other syllabuses. If you have asked any of your friends who have taken A-Maths during a time when studying other syllabuses. Before I move on to the solutions, I want to explain a massive problem that I see in the SPM syllabus. Take note that this same pattern can be found in other syllabuses, and I'm going to talk about SPM in general. And there exists an uncomfortable yet powerful truth in which I'm going to explain. First of all, although there are changes in the syllabus, A-Maths remain the greatest failed subject in SPM. If you look into the statistics for A-Maths, you can just look into a few years. You see that A-Maths remain the highest fail rate, and 20 to 25 is already considered very high. This is because I estimated more than 75% of Malaysians, they do not address the root causes. For what I found, all the root causes that I explained is what led me to believe that majority of the Malaysians fail at maths. And third, mindset becomes extremely rigid, and when the student's mentality is unconditioned for extreme difficulty of maths, then the student will suffer from breakdown, and due to this, they feel like, I'm not going to take maths anymore. The result, Malaysians fear A-Maths and extreme frustration takes over. I hope you understand this, because from what I found, this is something that I do not want to accept, but I have to accept it, and so you too. Here is the solution to study A-Maths effectively. This is what I came up with when I studied A-Maths in SPM. So this is something that does not require any extra tuition hours and totally self-reliant. So the first step is to change your study strategy. Means that you need to deviate yourself from practice and then start building your foundation from scratch. And what you do is you relax your mental state and return to the beginning of the topics. This will allow you to recollect and then start to think about the topic itself. Why do the laws even exist in the first place? And that is where you need to investigate them. You need to use your resource materials to the fullest, and then you prove yourself. This will build a solid foundation in which it's very hard to crumble. Then after you do that, you build your foundation, and then you practice together so that you create a learning structure. And you do that, eventually your foundation is able to support your practice, and no matter the question, everything will work for you. Then after you done that, all you need to do is to practice tougher questions, and then you train your mental flexibility. That is the crucial part, in which if you want to solve tougher questions, you need to do that, and mental flexibility is key. The last one is to conduct time management, mainly because the A-Maths exam will give you a limited time. Like example, in SPM, paper 1 will only give you 2 hours, where paper 2 will give you only 2 hours 30 minutes, and you need to plan your time so that when you do that question, you know when to skip and then when to come back later. So you need to train your accuracy followed by speed. That is how you study A-Maths effectively, and this will result in a person with very strong willpower, ability to think properly, and your foundation is what will keep you from falling, and the study of A-Maths is very solid. I want to conclude my video right here. So if you found it helpful for A-Maths, then you can share it, and I want you to go back, test the strategy that I gave you, and then you view your results after exams. If this helps you, then you can adopt this solution as a new strategy for you, and you see that your results will improve, and you can view this with your friends. Thank you.